Because if you want to focus on growth, you have to be not working in your business, you have to be working on your business.
Today we have Simon Banks, who is an author, podcaster, and international speaker on creativity, innovation, and design, and a happily recovering artist. He describes his geek out spot as the intersection of creativity and design, learning, people, and passion, which he sees as essential building blocks for future leaders and developing an innovative culture. His big why is to use his artist's curiosity combined with his 20-year corporate career to build a more creative world to enable people and business to thrive in the modern age. Welcome, Simon.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me along.
Pleasure. Tell us about your business. Where I'm interested. That's quite an interesting space you're playing in.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey as well. And look, I'll tell you, I guess maybe where it started, which is slightly unusual because I heard you say happily recovering artist. I studied fine arts at university and was working as a professional artist for a bunch of different years. But look, I've always had itches I wanted to scratch. And I guess about 20 years ago, on the back of a personality alone, I went and worked for a corporate training company in the UK, so working in leadership and team development. And then one day my boss said to me, "So can you do anything with your creative background?" And that was after keeping it almost completely secret, a little bit embarrassed that I was a little bit left field. And I tried something and it went really well. And then that idea just snuck off in my head. And over the years, that's morphed into what I do now, which is working in the space of innovation, creativity, design, and I guess essentially helping people to shift their thinking and develop new ideas around a bunch of stuff and then bring that into the world.
Great. And so, where do you sort of add the most value in the marketplace?
Yeah, again, something I always asking myself as well. So, look, I guess the business is split into probably three different pieces, and one is the keynote speaking, where you ideally you'll spend 45 minutes to an hour with an audience, but that might sometimes stretch into a 2 hour space. So, I do a lot in that space. Look, but pre that, before I got into speaking, I was always in a workshop, so getting very hands on. I always say getting your hands dirty. I always say it. So, spending a lot of time exploring ideas, getting people unstuck, thinking up new solutions for their clients and their customers. And I'm also, we spoke around the visual artist piece. I use my illustration a huge amount in the work that I do. So I help people bring their ideas, their strategy, their storytelling, a whole bunch of things to life using that visual process as well. And when you visualize something, it becomes really easy to understand. And look, I'm always getting asked along the lines of, look, can you just help us out with this? And so I had to really think, well, what do I actually do? But it's that pieces around. I use all of those bits and pieces to help teams in organizations to shift their thinking and solve problems and bring ideas to life.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good. And so I'm curious from a business perspective, what had to change in you that kind of took you from, those early stages of business to, to where you're at now, having had a lot more success in that?
Look, probably the initial one is self belief, which I think a lot of startup businesses have, and that thought around, look, who am I to offer advice on anything? And what if people I work with are smarter than me? Which you would hope so. So that piece just around backing yourself and that self belief. And look, what also worked out really well for me along the way is developing really great partnerships. And so that
Ah,
brings multiple leads into your business and that works both ways. So think around who's the audience that I could connect with, or who are people I could connect with where we have a similar audience, but we don't cross over in competition. And you'll find once you start to collaborate in that way, for me, that's opened up probably more doors than anything.
yeah, that's good. And so could you give us one or two insights that kind of gave you the biggest and most dramatic growth curve in your business?
Probably one is like give as much stuff away as you can. Like share your ideas. Like don't sort of sit on them and think. I use the Jamie Oliver experience, or the experience the Jamie Oliver approach. He gives away all these recipes, but he's a hugely respected selling author, if that makes sense. But he shares everything. So I guess I try and give away as much as I can. I guess free stuff that provides a lot of value, and so you build up I guess a trusting relationship that way. And also is around getting all those systems and processes in place, which can help you do the creative work. Like put those systems and processes in place that help deal with the boring stuff, so it frees you up to do that creative work, which is what I get paid for.
Yeah. And what's worked for you in terms of, those systems in place there?
I guess it's pretty standard for everyone, but outsource the stuff that really annoys you, and and do the stuff that brings you joy. And so that'll just be all the things where you think, could I be paying someone else to do this? Do that, because you can then. So it's not, I guess, one particular system. It's just think around all the different things that you can outsource and pay someone else to do. Do that, so you can but then be focusing on the stuff which brings in the highest amount of money and yield and value to your clients as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And so then, in light of that, what advice would you give to, a business owner or a CEO who really would like to get to their next level of business growth?
I would say be open to thinking differently, because we all get stuck in, we all have these blinkers. Like we've all come through life, we've been relatively successful, let's say. Like if you're listening to this podcast, you've done well, you've got a business which is already up and running. So be open to new ideas, be open to thinking differently about what you do, be open to stretching yourself, because let's say the last 18 months, I hate to talk around, COVID or whatever that may be. But look, we've certainly seen that we have to be agile enough to shift and think differently. And along the way, I'd say be open to. We often hear this saying of fail fast, and I like the idea of trying things, but I shift that fail fast to experiment quickly. So if you've got an itch you want to scratch, try it. If you think there's something where that could be an area for growth, do a few little experiments in that place, test it out with your market, and see. So in summary, be open to newness, try new things, and make sure you've got someone who can point out your blind spots as well. Like almost like the who's a stranger in the room you can bring in, who knows nothing about your business but will see things a lot differently to you.
Yeah, that's good. And where have you seen that fail fast, experiment quickly kind of work really well?
Let's say, look, I guess a lot of the organizations I do, that's my mantra with them, rather than thinking, I'll give you an example where it didn't work well. Remember Masters Homeware, which was the big piece which came out against Bunnings maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yes.
They launched across Australia with a huge footprint, but their business model or their shop model was a fail, as in customers didn't want it. They weren't servicing what people needed. They tried to be a bit of everything. Imagine if they had have experimented quickly and just run one shop and or one space until they got that floor space perfectly. And I think that was at the time Woolworth's biggest ever debt on their on their ledger with what that cost them. So I guess that's an example of where instead of thinking, oh, we're going to launch this huge piece, just test it, test it, test it. Be open to changing it as you go. And when you're in that space, especially or for all organizations, you can say, well, I tried it, didn't work out as we thought, but I learned a lot from it, and we didn't waste a lot of time and money.
Yeah, great. No, that is really good advice. And so, Simon, if you could go back 5 years and give your younger self a bit of advice, what would it be?
This is really good questions.
Thanks.
Maybe, well done, well done. This is a good one. Maybe chill out a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay, so just make sure you take the time to invest in yourself, because you can't be the best version of yourself in business if you don't look after yourself outside business. And this real sort of thing as a business owner, it's almost like the you have to work 14, 16 hours a day, badge of honor. That's rubbish. Like you can probably get as much done in 8 or 9 really well focused hours as you can wasting 12 or 13 at your desk. And I would probably say go back to actually get work even harder at getting your systems in place, get all the boring stuff that you don't like outsourced, and making sure you've got a smooth running ship so you can focus. Because if you want to focus on growth, you have to be not working in your business, you have to be working on your business. So if you're still fussing around with that invoice or whatever that may be, or that thing which just nags you and annoys the crap out of you, and you think I've spent 5 hours today trying to sort out this little problem, outsource that and get that person to record that information. So when the next person comes along, they know what to do.
Perfect. Yeah, that's good. And so, Simon, finally, who can you best help? And if they want to get in touch, how can they reach you?
Yeah, good question as well. So, look, my clients, as a rule, I work with everyone from, say, creative and design agencies at one end of the scale through to companies like Ernst and Young at the other end of the scale, and a lot of, I guess, some not for profits, but generally that sort of medium to larger enterprise. And if you're thinking, look, we'd really like to have a new, fresh take on this project, we'd really like to design and develop some new products, we would really like to understand our customer better, or we just like to put a bit more freshness, creativity, innovation, a little bit of, I guess, a new energy in our culture after maybe the last 18 months, whether it be a conference event, a workshop, a project. That's a good place to get in contact. Jump over to simonbanks.com.au, and there's some nice resources which will pop up on the front page, which you can download as well. And you can also check out my book, Thousand Little Light Bulbs: How to Kickstart a Culture of Innovation in Your Organization, where all good books are sold. And also have my own podcast, which is called The Occupational Philosophers, a not so serious business guide to spark creativity, curiosity, and imagination.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And Simon, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate what you've shared today.
Yeah, most welcome. Thanks for having me along.
Thanks, Simon.